Excuse me, madam, you're looking at your watch. Are you late for work this morning?
Yes, I will be.
Is that because of the tube trains?
Yes, that's right.
Have you had a good journey this morning?
Exhausting.
Excuse me, madam, what's your reaction to the Bakerloo line?
Oh, God.
Disgusting.
It's supposedly been reduced by about 20%, but it seems like a lot more than that, you know.
It's terrible.
Getting worse?
Yeah, it's getting worse every day.
Really terrible. You have to push your way in, and it's so difficult to stand, you know, hanging in the air or something.
Well, I'm sure the railway company would never let it get any worse.
But there'll be a tragedy one of these days. Too many people. Treat them like cattle.
It takes twice as long to get anywhere.
Well, that's how the commuter feels. £41 a week for a bus driver may sound reasonable, but how many drivers actually earn that?
My basic wage is £28.10 for 40 hours a week, plus any bonus takings on the bus, you see.
The flat rate of pay is just under £34, but after stoppages, I'm left with about £26 to take home.
On an early turn, I normally take home about £29 a week.
Well, I reckon the flat pay should be about, say, £45 a week. That should be the basic pay.
I have to do 25 years here, you see, before I receive full sick benefit from the London Transport. To me, that's ridiculous.
Mr. Cope, there was a general redrawing of underground schedules in July. Have you since then managed to keep to them, or is things getting worse and worse and worse?
We have managed to keep to the timetables instituted in July, with the exception of the Bakerloo line, where because of the severe staff shortages in the grade of guard, we have had to reduce further from the 40 trains we were then operating down to 32.
Things could get worse this autumn, couldn't they?
Oh, indeed, they could get worse if the drift away from the job continues. If, for example, the Bakerloo resignation rate doesn't slow down, then it could get worse. But optimistically, if the resignation rate eases, then the people coming into the system at the moment, there could be an improvement over about the next 4 weeks. But I'm not dreadfully optimistic, I must confess.
How many buses have you got out of action?
On the average, during a day, we have something like 17 to 18 duties a day.
17 or 18 buses short, out of action?
Well, in effect, that is duties as opposed to buses, which could be double that number.
So what sort of delays does that add up to on Route 68 every morning?
It causes not so much delays as intermittence of badly regulated services. It means that the public are confronted with possibly a gap in service followed by 2 or 3 buses, which is, of course, excessively irritating to the travelling public.
The whole business is getting worse every day. We've just been turned out of one train at Cricklewood that broke down. It happens day after day.
What about the buses? Are they getting worse?
Well, they're getting fewer, I suppose, because they can't get people to run them.
How long have you been waiting this morning?
About 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, nearly 20 minutes, I think, could be as long as that.
Is that about the same as usual?
Yeah, basically, it's always, well, when you get to this end, you know, into London Transport, that's it. You know, you just sit and stand and wait and just take chances.
Well, in fact, you're standing there, you've got no chance of getting knocked over, we'll put it that way. Not for a little while yet, you know, and coming back at night's worse. It's pretty organised. There's a nice queue, you know, but when you get to Knightsbridge and places like that coming home, it's ridiculous.
You only take 5 standing, you know, and there's chaos, you know, they can't get extra one on, you know. Well, now and again you take the extra 1 or 2, you're breaking the law anyway, but you have to, because otherwise you stand there and you can imagine what happens, you know. It's all this.
So, Richard, how many staff is London Transport now short of?
Or in the region of 6,000 out of about 60, about 10% short.
And where are the most critical shortages?
Without any doubt, in the bus operating field, the bus drivers and conductors, and in the engineering and train operating field.
How can jobs be made more attractive?
I believe the jobs are attractive, except for the hours. I think we can offer more job satisfaction than most people get by crawling into city offices and making tea for the boss and not answering letters, and by going and being very bad shop assistants. I think we have more job satisfaction to offer in London Transport than most of these jobs. What we have got to get over is this antisocial hour problem, which is a very serious one, and my only answer is that we've got to pay for it.
What rates would be fair for unsocial hours?
Oh, I think this would be a matter to be negotiated with the trade unions, and I don't think you'll ever get me to answer that question.
But you must have some idea of what sort of rates of pay and fringe benefits would attract more staff.
Oh, yes, we have, of course.
What would those be?
Oh, well, this is, as I said, as I repeat what I said, this is a matter to be negotiated with the trade unions.
How many members has your branch lost in the last few months?
Oh, well over 100 through staff shortage.
And that's out of how many?
Well, we started off the year with over 1,500 members. We're now down to 1,407, and it's generally through people leaving their job.
How do your members feel?
Well, the members themselves, they're pretty browned off, my trainman members especially. If one looks at what's happening recently, we've had a strike at Wood Green, we've had a strike at Loughton, we've had a strike at Rickmansworth, and generally the lads themselves are fed up, but fed up to the back teeth. And unless something's done, and done pretty quickly, I can see that it won't need a strike to stop London Transport, will be the staff shortage.
If the NUR and or the TGWU resort to strike action this autumn or next spring, will you be sympathetic to that strike?
Oh no, I'm certainly not, because I would hope that I should be able to persuade the unions that it's not in their interest to strike, in fact, as they would be politically against a government legislation. I think that is a dead-end strike. There's no hope in that sort of strike.
You said in your letter to London MPs that the Green Paper does practically nothing to help you over your problems. Where does that leave you?
Well, it leaves us in a very unpromising situation, made a little less unpromising by the fact that we are now in the autumn. Our bad period for staff normally is in the summer, when, of course, people are on holiday in any case, and when recruitment is at its lowest. I would hope over the next 6 months that our position wouldn't deteriorate. But I cannot see anything in the government's policy at the moment which would give me any real hope of a massive improvement, and it's a massive improvement we want.